Many people hear it through the grapevine. You can tell from that bass line. We hear a lot of it on Rockin' Company's Rockin' CU through Adam Munsterteiger, publisher of BuffStampede.com on the Yahoo Rivals Network, at AdamCM777. That is brought to you by Rockin' Company, family owned and operated in Colorado. 5 decades, 2 generations, historic and modern masons and general contractors. Build with rock, build with Rockin' Company. Check them out, rockinco.com. And we welcome Adam Munsterteiger. Howdy, Adam.
Good morning, guys.
Good, nice sunny morning, a warm morning this morning. But the news isn't any better in sunshine than it is, I suppose, in gloom, that Davis Webb is not transferring here. And you've been sort of soft-pedaling this and trying to warn people, including our listeners, that maybe when Davis Webb started taking other visits, regardless of what he was telling the coaching staff, that it didn't bode well.
Yeah, it was a tough story to cover just because what I heard from people that I trust was just not consistent in terms of things that he was telling Colorado, and then things I was hearing from people that were not associated with Colorado. And when I was able to confirm that the reason this was dragging on was because Davis Webb was waiting on acceptance into a Cal grad school program, that's when I started to kind of try to warn CU fans, hey, kind of brace yourselves here. And it's just crazy, though, that up until Tuesday night, Davis Webb was still telling the Colorado coaches he planned to be a Buff. And so it's a tough deal for them. They've handled it with class. I don't know if you saw the tweet that Darren Chiaverini sent out after Davis Webb news broke. But
and that is smart as a recruiter. We've seen when guys like the Texas A&M recruiters go the other way, and I'm glad that Chiaverini has some class there. But this is not good for Darren Chiaverini. We certainly don't understand why Davis Webb wasn't a little more honest, saying, you know what, I haven't made up my mind, I'm reopened. I know you've reported that some of the reasons that this dragged on for so long is that Davis Webb was waiting for a place at the Cal grad school.
Yeah, and it's a little bit more of a complicated deal. You know, Cal can get in some borderline guys in terms of the undergrad program, but when it comes to grad school, it's a very complicated process for them because you're getting a guy into a 2-year grad program that's only going to be there 6 months. Now, it happens at other schools. Colorado didn't have the difficulties that Cal did. That's the unfortunate part of this. If that piece hadn't dragged on so long, Davis Webb maybe wouldn't have strung Colorado as long as he did, and then there wouldn't be quite as much animosity from Colorado fans towards Davis Webb for how this whole situation played out.
Yeah, it is tough on the coaching staff.
This speaks well. You pointed this out on Twitter, Adam. This speaks well about Sefo Lual's recovery.
Yeah, well, the reason, and I've seen this rumor floated out there by a few CU fans that they think that Davis Webb is going to Cal because Sefo Lual's recovery is coming along so well, and that's not the case. There's quite a few other reasons of why Davis Webb is going to Cal, but certainly in the aftermath of the situation, the fact that Sefo Lual has recovered well from that foot injury is huge news because that's obviously who they're going to rely on to be their starting quarterback now. In a perfect world, you don't have to worry about setbacks with Sefo Lual. Now you do. Right now it sounds like everything's on track. You've got to find that fine line between getting Sefo Lual ready for the season opener, but not risking injury on that foot as we get closer and closer to that season opener.
Certainly we'll get to that in a moment. And now the loss of Cade Apsay, who was drummed out of school because he didn't follow the rules, looms much larger as a guy who could have stepped in should Sefo have a setback in that recovery. Certainly no guarantee he'll be ready. 2-part question. Is there, in your opinion, football reasons why Davis Webb is not coming to Colorado? And what is the impact long-term of Colorado not getting Davis Webb on Mike McIntyre, on the program itself, on Darren Chiaverini, the offensive coordinator, who all but got him here?
Yeah, so in terms of kind of Davis Webb's decision-making process now, there were concerns about Colorado's offensive line. That was part of kind of him looking around in the first place, but really the main reason for him actually going to Cal is the fact that the offense they run there is basically a carbon copy of what he ran at Texas Tech. They are implementing a lot of those concepts at Colorado with Chiaverini coming over, but it's not it's not a duplicate of what they ran at Texas Tech. So the verbiage and stuff like that is going to be a little bit easier transition. And then Cal really sold the Jared Goff going #1 in the draft thing to him, and that was a big part of their sales pitch was, hey, you come here, this is what could happen to you. And so it had more to do with that than anything against what was going on in Colorado.
Well, that's good news. And remind everybody that BuffStampede.com, Adam Munsterteiger is the publisher of that. It is must-reading if you're a football fan in the state. Certainly if you're a Colorado fan, you probably already know about it. Read it religiously, and we encourage you to do the same. So what is the impact going forward? Doesn't Mike McIntyre and Darren Chiaverini, perhaps, don't they have to land some of these guys at some point to be able to turn this program around and or keep their jobs?
Yeah, it is a very critical year for this staff. And if Sefo Lufau's foot is fine and there's no setbacks there and he stays healthy this fall, the impact of Davis Webb coming to Colorado, maybe it's mitigated. Maybe it doesn't matter, but it's hard to say definitively at this point. You're not feeling great about that quarterback depth. You mentioned Kate Absey being dismissed from the team. Steven Montez, the coaches were very complimentary of him this spring, but they were also very honest in saying that he's maybe a year away from being ready. And so it all comes down to really Sefo Lufau's health, and there's just maybe more pressure on that than obviously you wanted to be the case. But I don't think the overall goals for this football team necessarily have changed as a result. And long term, big picture wise, aside from kind of the pressure on the staff this season, the quarterback position, it's not that big of a deal because, again, Davis Webb was going to be a 6-month hire here. The Sharon Jones situation, which kind of got overshadowed by the whole Davis Webb saga, would have been a bigger deal there. This was a former 4-star quarterback that was in your program that was going to sit out this year and then have 3 years of eligibility. He decides to go back to Tennessee. And so I think the Sharon Jones thing is actually, big picture-wise, long-term-wise, is a bigger deal than the whole Davis Webb saga, as long as Sefo Lufau stays healthy.
Well, great point. I'm going to switch gears on you. Here's a subject that's scary to any University of Colorado fan. You read Mark Knudsen's piece in Mile High Daily yesterday about relegation, taking the soccer model where the most successful teams go on and stay Power 5 and the lesser teams get dropped in favor of the Toledos and the up-and-comers who've had a few good years. This would be scary to Colorado the last few years if it happened. What do you think about college football solving their conference situations going to this model?
Well, the biggest problem I would have with that is the fact that you could have a college football program that's developing with some underclassmen, you're taking some lumps, and as a result you lose some games and you get penalized for that, and then all of a sudden you have a junior, senior laden team, but you're being penalized for what the team did when it was, had younger players in it, and all of a sudden you've got this really good team that's playing the AAA version of college football. That would be maybe my biggest gripe with
that's a great one.
That system. And then it's from a fan standpoint, I don't think it's healthy for the sport. If you every couple of years you've got to relearn who's in each conference. You have athletic budgets that are based on conference revenue. I don't know if that would change in this model.
Rivalry games.
Mm-hmm.
Rivalry games, yeah.
Television dollars.
I totally get the point of in terms of the teams that deserve maybe a chance to step up and kind of rewarding them and penalizing other teams and making it really matter. But I don't know. I just don't think that would be sustainable in college football.
I don't think it's ever going to happen. But the purpose of a column is to stimulate conversation. You never know. And again, I give Mark Kisler credit for coming up with the idea. It's much more acceptable, I think, on a professional level than it is on a college level. It would be because you don't have to describe the junior, senior, freshman, sophomore situation on a professional team. And in professional teams, let's see, we're sick of tanking around here, aren't we? We're sick
but
of.
You couldn't do it on a professional level with TV. You're not going to give up the Washington
because you don't
market
have
or the LA market or the St. Louis market.
You don't have a viable minor league system in place for that,
right.
So you can't do it that way. But or a second level. But I mean, you could do it in professional sports, and you'd eliminate tanking.
It would do that.
You could do it that way. I don't like the idea, and I wrote this. I didn't write this from the perspective of trying to penalize CU. I thought I'm just trying to shape the best case scenario for CSU because, as we talked about last week, I don't see the CSU program being ready to play in a Power 5 conference right now. But this would give them the opportunity to play up to and learn and earn a promotion to a Power 5 conference without mortgaging their future. Because let's face it, as you know, was covering CU, the financial making this move financially might sound good long term. Short term, it's very difficult. CU took a hit financially, and they still aren't getting the rewards they were supposed to get from the Pac-12 TV network. So I'm just fearful of CSU getting into that circumstance and becoming a doormat in the Big 12 for 5 years, because that's honestly what they would be if they moved up too early.
Well, Mark, you had a line in your article that I was kind of curious in terms of what you meant by this. You said some of us miss being in a place where college football really matters. I mean, maybe I'm missing something, but I'm kind of under the impression college football is as much or more popular than it ever has been. And I mean, you can
not in here, not in Colorado. Hey, Adam, you and I, we were all at the Stanford game last year, right? Remember that? Stadium was 2/3 full in Folsom Field for Stanford, for Christian McCaffrey's homecoming. I'm talking about being at places where college football, where you're selling out no matter who you're playing. And I'm really tired of hearing CSU fans complain. Well, if we had in the Big 12, we weren't playing Nevada, we were playing Texas, we'd fill up the place. You should fill up the place to see your team, not the other team.
All right, we got to run. Adam, thank you.
Thanks,
pick
Adam.
this up next week.
Sounds good, guys.
All right, Rockin Company's Rockin' to You, brought to you by the family-owned and operated Colorado historic and modern masonry firm, general contractors, Rockin Company. Build it with rock. Build it with Rockin Company, rockandco.com.